the monitor where the thing is.
Okay, we're back.
Hey,
And apparently the hard line that I have for this, what do you call it? System that I have.
yes, we'll call it that. That's generous, but okay.
I mean, honestly, I mean, it dropped twice.
Yeah, we should probably talk about you getting some kind of modified system over there with the router, but
I
that's
mean,
for
come
another
on.
time.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's
It is.
ridiculous.
It is. But should I just continue with my
Yeah,
thought
your
then, or
last point
okay?
on the diversity in animation.
Right. Okay. So it's moving uh, more steadily and faster than ever. We've got two of the most powerful people in Hollywood going on record with their commitment to cultural diversity in their films. That's Kevin Feige, who has spoken about that, and Kathleen Kennedy from Lucasfilm. And you can tell by the casts of their movies that they're moving in that direction. Look at Spider-Man: Homecoming; it's the most diverse cast of probably any of the Marvel films at up to this point. Um, and Star Wars, obviously, with John Boyega. Moving forward, they've got the new girl for Episode 8. So, I think that more than ever before, Hollywood is definitely moving in a place that, to my consternation at sometimes, is going to make you happy if that's what you're after. So,
Well, I guess I'm not saying that's what I'm after. I think it's not a bad thing, but I feel as though when you I don't think it counts. I just don't think it counts when you put people in an animated or motion capture way. I don't think it counts. But
I
anyway,
think you're ridiculous, but okay.
all right. So moving on to our next trailer here before who knows how long before this shit fails yet again. I feel as though like somebody's out there with a generator. Like I've got like people trapped in my basement on bicycles riding around, just
You
trying to
know what
keep the
they're called?
electricity
They're called AT&T employees that are in the AT&T headquarters running around like mice on a treadmill. Yes.
You would think that I'm recording using Sprint's hotline because you know how
Yes.
often those calls drop for me.
Yes. The only thing worse than AT&T is Sprint.
All right, so the Mummy trailer came out with your boy Tom Cruise. As we know, this movie will be directed by Alex Kurtzman, and it is a reboot of the Mummy franchise, the one that started Brendan Fraser. And
And
this
it's
is
the start of the Universal Monsters cinematic universe.
yes, the movie stars your boy Tom Cruise, Sophia Boutella, Annabella Wallace, and Russell Crowe. It's set to be released in June 9th of 2017. You saw the trailer, Bill. What are your thoughts?
Um, I'm underwhelmed. I I'm all for the connected cinematic universes. I like them. I think it's cool that you can get into a movie and then have parts of that storyline continued throughout. The serialization, basically, of cinema is what's happening. And I like that because I like serials. But I don't know why you would choose The Mummy of all properties to start out a franchise with. Now, there is some precedent for these third tier characters to be powerhouses like Iron Man for Marvel, which rolled out the Iron Man or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they got lucky with that more than anything based on the movie itself. But, I think Universal's looking to strike the same sort of chord with this mummy. I just don't think that this is the character that I would necessarily build a universe around. So I'm confused about that. And the trailer itself was not supremely wonderful. It felt a little bit like Van Helsing, and that's not a good thing.
Oof, that
At
is
the
not.
end, the villain sort of felt generic and not all that interesting. So I don't know. If Tom Cruise wasn't in this, I think I'd have a zero interest in it. If it was not the start of the Universal Cinematic Universe, I would have zero interest in it. Because of those two things, I have a modicum of interest, and I will probably go see it.
You know what? You summed it up. Unimpressive. Underwhelmed. I was unimpressed. I'm a big fan of this whole idea of making this monsters universe and having all the monsters get together at the end. I
Sure.
think it's a cool. It's like an old like Monster Squad. If you remember the movie Monster Squad, um, it's kind of a cool idea. And I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, despite his antics. Big fan of
Right.
his. And And if you had anybody in here outside of Tom Cruise, I don't know if we'd be talking about this, to be quite honest with you, because that trailer in and of itself, I walked away and said, "Why do I care?" And I think I just want to echo some of those things that you said, like the villain. I just don't know. You're right about starting off with the mummy. I don't know why you would start off with the mummy. You know, you want to bring out your big gun. You want to bring out your big gun to get everybody on board. And I don't know if the mummy is a good start. And two, I don't know your presentation or this mummy that you're putting out makes me want to go see, because there was nothing that seemed particular about this monster that makes me want to sit there and say I've got to go see it. You know, besides the
Well,
fact that it made like it doubled its eyes in a trailer, there was nothing else about some mummy throwing her arms out and seeing some wind blow past that sat there and said, "This is some new interesting shit."
well, if you listen to director Alec Kurtzman, who gave an interview about this when the trailer first came out, he said his interest or his um, desire to make this movie came out of the fact that the mummy is now a female, which, when we're talking about diversity, is another, I guess, way of them pushing the boundaries of what they've considered, you know, in the past. Um, so his
See, this is
big
the thing
thing is
about it.
that
What does the mummy having to be female have to do with anything?
why it's diversity, silly. That's the
Well,
catchphrase in
you know,
Hollywood these days.
you know what? If you wanted to make Dracula a female, that might kind of put a different twist on it. But the mummy seems to be one of those like asexual things for me. Does it matter? It's dead.
Apparently, it matters to Alex Kurtzman because that's the only reason why he wanted to make this movie. So
Okay.
whatever it
So
was
Alex
about her sex that made him interested in it, let's just hope it shows up on screen and we get why he was so fascinated by that.
So this Alex Kurtzman, this is also the guy behind. Let's see here.
He wrote Transformers. This is why I'm not particularly also interested in this movie. I'm not a big Alex Kurtzman fan.
I'm with you. I'm not going to go over here because the Transformer sums it up here, and the trailer seems to echo what I've already seen before from him. And obviously, we have to wait and see it. But there is something that just it's just
It's
not
lacking
impressive
for
and
me.
underwhelming.
It's underwhelming. It's lacking. Of all the trailers that were released in this last week and of all the summer movies that are highly anticipated for next year, I'm really struggling to give two shits about this one. So
And do you think the fact is we have a minute left, Bill? Do you think the fact that Tom Cruise in it? I mean, this is really the only thing I feel like it's really uplifting, keeping this project afloat. To be quite honest with you, um, I think Tom Cruise does a lot of good movies. I mean, he's a big fan. Do you think that somehow there's more to it that even Tom Cruise wouldn't just go into a piece of turd movie?
again, ask Tom Cruise's accountant why he did the movie. Um, okay, I don't. I know that Tom Cruise has a reputation for being somewhat discriminating in his roles, but everybody gets old in Hollywood, and he's nobody's spring chicken anymore either. So you have to sort of remember maybe he's not also getting the same level of interest because movie stars are kind of dead anyway. But that being said, it does lend a little bit of respectability towards the production altogether that you have either what's considered what's an A-list actor now or a former A-list actor signing on to a big part of the movie. So that's one thing that does sort of lend it a little bit of respectability.
We're gonna move on to the next trailer here, but I just saw what there's a trailer of a movie on Netflix called I think the Medici of Florence. Anyway, in the trailer, there's Dustin Hoffman, and I sit there and I kind of chuckled for a second because it's sort of like Russell Crowe. At some point, you have to transition from being like a top dog A+ actor to just filler roles. You
I don't know if
come
they would call
in.
them filler roles. I would imagine they would call them more like character parts versus leading roles.
Okay, you know what? That sounds like some shit designed to make their ego feel better. Okay. That's what it is. Russell Crowe comes in and he plays the wide sage doctor. That's his parts. That's his parts now. He comes in and he sits there and wears a suit and gives some sort of guidance. That's what he does, and leaves the real action to the real stars. That's where he's at now.
Well,
It's
he's
I mean,
like 60, so
it's just an observation. Anyway, one of my favorite trailers came out. Out of the three, I have to admit that this next trailer was my favorite. Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
sure.
What?
I rewatched the trailer because, as I told you before, I was, somewhat underwhelmed when I first saw it, and then I watched it a few more times. It's growing on me, I will say that. Baby Groot is going to be a star. I mean, Groot is just a star, and I think that there's going to be a whole lot of money made on Baby Groot figures when this movie is released, because he's just cool and fun, and
Who's the
you know,
director of Guardians of the Galaxy?
James Gunn.
Yeah, he also come out and say the reason why we did Baby Groot was not just to try to infuse the toy market. We're just not trying to do a a toy grab. Did you see that comment by him?
I did see that comment, but it's it is what it is. But Baby Groot is certainly not going to not sell toys. So
I don't know how you had to walk away from not watching that trailer, being a fan of the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and not be, what's the word, excited and have some enthusiasm for watching the second one. I mean, it's
like
like
I
it's
said, I had to sort of get into it. I watched it a few times, and like I said, it's sort of I've gotten into the groove of it, but it took me a little while.
what
Um,
got you out of the groove then?
um, More of same, I guess, is basically what, and then that's not a bad thing, but I was just not really surprised by anything I saw in the trailer, or it didn't have enough money shots in there to make me go, I must see this right now. Now, I am looking forward to very much seeing it, but it wasn't one of those trailers like where it just captures you and you just go like with all the Marvel, or excuse me, all of these Star Wars trailers where you just go, when is that movie coming out? I must see it right now. I didn't have that reaction, which is what I kind of want.
Okay. I mean, the scene with Rocket Raccoon talking with Baby Groot. I mean, as someone as cold hearted as I am at times with some of this here, it put a smile on my face. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, and the whole tone of it is just so far removed from something like Doctor Strange, which I think is really the key to Marvel's success. And when you always talk about they're always the same in some ways, I see your point, but in other ways, the tones vary widely within this Marvel universe.
it
It's
is, which
certainly
is
not. It's certainly not going to be Captain America: Winter Soldier, and it's certainly not going to be Doctor Strange. So it does feel different.
it does, which is actually going to be something we'll address after we go over our next subject with the Justice League news coming up here in a little bit here. Um, Once again, I think that trailer reaffirms that the whole people that they have cast, Batista for Drax and Chris Pratt and Zoe, they're just it's a good cast. It's got a good flavor, and even though I'm not really a fan of all the kookiness and zaniness that came from the first one, it's undeniable that the characters are a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in May.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun movie, and that's certainly in this day and age not something that will be unappreciated. So
Okay.
for me,
Let's move on. We got done with that early. We actually might make up our pace here a little bit here. So you've got some sort of Star Wars news for me.
I'm not looking at my notes right now. What news do I have?
You have the Star Wars news that rumor that Rey is the
Oh, right.
granddaughter of Obi-Wan.
Okay.
What?
Okay. So this is a fan theory that's been out there for a while.
Why should
And a
I
lot of
listen to these
people,
fans? Why should I listen to these fans, Bill?
well, it's like this. A lot of people don't want Rey to be a Skywalker. I personally am in the camp that I do, and I think it's essential for her to be either a Skywalker or closely tied to the Skywalkers,
Okay,
because
time out. Why don't the fans want her to be a Skywalker? Give me that. I don't know.
because it reduces this what's supposed to be a galaxy to a small. It's too small. It's too insular. It's too.
Oh, I
How can
got
this
you.
whole
It's
galaxy be all about this one family?
right. The
Um,
Skywalker family is the preeminent, like they're like the Queen of England's family over there, huh? Nobody
right.
else can share the power. It's just their bloodline.
Right. And like that or not, that is the story of Star Wars. Is the story of the Skywalker family. It runs throughout both trilogies. Um, Luke, and now with Kylo Ren and Han and Leia, it's the story of the Skywalker family. I mean, I don't know how you get around that 6 or 7 movies in. So I kind of think they should not get around it and embrace it, because the reason why I want her to be a Skywalker is because those are the characters that I've grown and grown over 6 films or 7 films with. I want to see what happens to the legacy of that family. So anyway, a lot of people don't want her to be a Skywalker. Also, it becomes problematic when Luke is supposed to have been the last Jedi, and they have a code that forbids them to be intimately
Yeah.
involved with people. Blah blah blah.
So Luke was down in a brothel down in Mexico making it happen, huh?
Right.
Not wrapping it up.
Well, a newer theory then has cropped up where Rey is now considered the possibility to be a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi. You sort of run into the same Jedi code problem, but it is also now written into canon with the Clone Wars cartoon that George Lucas did, that Obi-Wan did have a period of his life where he disobeyed the Jedi code and had a romantic relationship with a character on the Clone Wars show. Now they're also hinting very subtly at this point, but there are droppings of hints in the new Rebels cartoon that one of the characters in that show, one of the rebels on the team, is possibly Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter. And then with another character on the show combined, there's sort of a romance kind of going on with that. The speculation is that Rey could be the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi through that relationship in the Rebel show. Now, this is problematic for me because I was just about ready to give up the Rebel show. Um, for every storyline that moves anything forward in the Star Wars canon that's involved in this cartoon, there are generally 6 or 7 or 8 episodes that have nothing to do with anything and are just really what I call filler. And there's too much filler for me in this show. I am down with their mythology, and as long as the story's moving forward, and this also ties into what we were talking about before about TV shows stretching shit out beyond all believability. Um,
So now I've
like I
forced
said,
you to have to watch these episodes before when you were trying to maybe wean yourself off of them. Now
right
you're
now it's like I was ready to really eliminate the show from my DVR because it just is repetitive and the story never moves forward. And now they've gotten involved in this whole theory with Obi-Wan possibly being Rey's grandfather. Now, of course, I'm sucked back in, just like the fucking Godfather. Just when I get out, they suck me back in. So I can't ignore the show entirely if this turns out to be true. Now, if all of this turns out to be not, and I end up having to watch these episodes of these shows and it ends up nowhere, I'm going to be really pissed. So I certainly hope for their sakes that they tie it together somehow.
So when they come up with this fan theory here, they lay out all like their evidence. They point to Exhibit A, B, and C as to why it might be Obi-Wan's granddaughter.
Right. Yes. And there
Okay.
is evidence in the show, but though I say very subtle so far, that it's certainly in the realm of possibility.
Okay. I kind of like that idea. I
Well,
like
I
that.
like it in that it takes, these shows are supposed to be canon. All the cartoons, all the movies, all the books now, all the comics now, they're all supposed to be. This was the whole point of filming or of forming the Lucasfilm Story Group, is so that they could get everybody on the same page and make it all one cohesive story.
Yeah, it lessens the connection, though. I mean, having Rey be the granddaughter of Obi-Wan doesn't really make as strong a connection as it would have been if it would have been to, let's say, Luke
True,
and or Han Solo. I mean, those would have
true,
been your strongest connections. I mean,
true. And those are
Obi-Wan,
ones I still hope do turn out to be true.
yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan is very cool, no doubt. But in terms of, it's not Luke's own flesh and blood, if you will.
Right. Now, that is still preferable to me, though, than having her not be related to anyone and she's just some kind of miracle force birth the way Anakin was. Um, I would still prefer it. It goes like this for me. Having her be related to no one is my least preferable way of going with this. Having her related to Obi-Wan is better than that outcome. Having her related to Luke is the optimum outcome for me. So,
Yeah. Okay. I got
or
you.
Leia, obviously Leia too.
I would like to think that we had to come up with some way to kind of I can signal to you. We don't do video, so I can't really see you to give you like the Hindsight. And these things are kind of obnoxious. The effects that I have at my disposal.
That's okay.
Um,
I don't mind. Just play it and I'll know.
okay. All right. So we have
I
less
thought we
than
were
a
going
minute.
with the alarm.
It's too long. The clock just goes too long. It just goes too
Okay.
long. Tick, 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 tick. Anyway,
Okay.
I guess the whole idea, if you, I think in order to move forward in the series, I believe Ray has to be connected to the old. So I would think that somehow she would have to be related to somebody. So the book end it all, and launch you into the new universe. To have her not
Now,
related to somebody else would be, I would think, because then at that point, then your connection is going to be Ben Solo, an evil guy, and that's not what you want in
I
terms of.
will say this. One of the things I think is the coolest part about Rey possibly being Obi-Wan's granddaughter is that if you recall the big fight at the end of episode 7 between Kylo Ren and Rey, it would then become a mirror of the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in episode 4 because you would end up having the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting the grandson of Darth Vader.
Yeah, you and your mirrors. I'm over it. Okay, we're over your mirrors. I'm sure
I'm just
somebody heard
saying.
you. Somebody else heard you just say that, and they probably were like wetting themselves, going, "Oh my God, he's so right. I love that." I'm not one of those people. Okay, so you're not
Okay,
going to
I'm
get the
just saying,
positive
as
reinforcement.
the story goes, as the story is cyclical, the life is circular, then it would be a sort of full circle arc if you had the granddaughter of Obi-Wan fighting the grandson of Darth. Just saying.
Moving on to quick hitters. The quick hitters is our new feature here, at least for today's episode, where we discuss 4 to 5 things in under 4 minutes.
Wow,
Shall
that's
we?
quite an order. I thought it
Shall
was
we
going to be under.
begin?
Sure, let's go.
You
Hit it.
thought it was going to be under what? Under two?
8 minutes.
No, it's not under 8 minutes. It's under
Okay.
four.
For all 5 things?
No, for each
Oh,
thing.
okay.
That was
Okay,
a
I got you.
negotiation we
Right,
had
right.
off the
I
air.
was confused. I'm back on track now. Okay.
Okay, so in our first quick hitter, Justice League 2 apparently is delayed. Why?
Well, because Warner Brothers is scared shitless that their cinematic universe isn't going to fly with people, and now they've put their big guns up front to sort of bolster the coffers. And every time you put out a Batman movie, it does nothing but rake in dough. So they're moving the Batman, with Ben Affleck into that June 19th, 2019 slot that was slated for Justice League 2. And then Justice League 2 is going to be postponed until they can get that movie on the schedule. Now, this also sort of helps shore up the coffers. If Justice League doesn't do as well as they hope it will, then they're not going to be committed to another money loser with Justice League 2 right away. They've got somebody to put some money in the bank with the Batman in between. And then maybe if it doesn't work out, Justice League won't even become a thing, part 2.
You know what? That sounds like a good business move right there.
Yeah, it is smart of them.
Okay. Wow. I didn't, with you saying that right now, I really can't, I can't really be mad at them for doing that then. I mean, if that's one way of, what's the word? Rationalizing or moving, rationalizing that decision to go that way.
Well, like I said, they're putting the big guns where their mouth is. They know that Batman is probably going to be a big cash cow for them. So if Justice League, and it's only a win-win for them, if Justice League is successful or as successful or more successful than they predict, then the hunger for it will be that much more after they do Batman in the middle and then do the next Justice League. I certainly hope that it's a successful movie for them. I want their universe to get on steady ground.
And you're
I
still on
want to see
board with Zack Snyder here. You don't think since he's going to be directing the first Justice League that he should be given an opportunity to direct the second Justice League. Justice
Well, the
League.
rumor is now that he is going to do Justice League 2, um, because he was sort of not rumored for it at first for a while, but now that they've pushed it back, he's going to do a little film in between. He's going the Nolan route, where he does a big franchise film and then a smaller film, then a big franchise film, then a smaller film. So I think that sort of helps him keeps him fresh, maybe keeps him from burning out. Also, it gives them, a little bit more time to polish their Justice League, their big group movie. So I think it's a win. I think it's smart, and I'm all for it.
Okay.
Of
Well,
course,
here.
if we're looking at June 19th, 2019 for the Batman, how far are we looking out for Justice League 2? I mean, we're already into the 2020s.
You know what? It's best for them to take baby steps. At the end of the day, it's baby steps for them. I mean, you want to talk about hubris? It's good for them to slow their roll and not sit there and go, oh, we're just going to put out all these things. Just take it one step at a time. Slowly build your universe. Don't
And you
assume.
don't care if we're 70 years old by the time we get Justice League 2 then. Because, we're not getting any younger. I need them to crank the shit out. Okay?
I know you're acting like somehow the world's going to end tomorrow and we're not going to have it.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable with the current political state of the United States, and I'm not quite certain it won't end between now and then. So,
Enjoy your last few weeks of freedom, peasants. All
I'm
right.
just saying.
Anyway, so in our second quick hitter, apparently there's a mystery X-Men movie coming out. Do tell.
Fox has announced they're going to start filming in the spring of 2017 the X-Men film that's now untitled, and we don't really have any idea what it's even going to be about. It could be
So
the
we
New
don't know if it's
Mutants.
going to involve the young cast that we were just introduced into, and Apocalypse.
Yeah, we have no idea. It could be the New Mutants. It could be a continuation. It could be a reboot of the Phoenix saga that looks like they started for in Apocalypse. We just basically have no idea. And I think we probably won't have any idea where they're going with any of it until at least after Logan, which will
Well,
give
wait a
us
second. Do we know who's even directing it?
no. We don't know anything about it. We know who's not directing it, and that's Bryan Singer.
So what does this tell you? I mean, you know how these things work.
It tells
What,
me that I think Fox maybe is being a little, they're perhaps sensing that people have been played out with the current X-Men state, because Apocalypse did not do Boffo box office this summer. I think they're kind of hedging their bets and sort of figuring out the best formula to move forward with. Perhaps this is a time for a reboot of the whole story. I don't think so. Where they left things with Apocalypse, it seems like they were really prepping that new young cast to sort of continue on into maybe they've done the 60s, they've done the 70s, they've done the 80s. Now they'll move forward a little bit, maybe to the 90s. And my preference is that they continue with the cast that they gave us in Apocalypse, at least the young cast. Sophie Turner, I thought was great as Jean Grey. I forget who the kid is that played um, Cyclops, but I thought he was really good. There were some things that I think they should improve on. I think that if they're going to have Storm be in there, they better write her like a full-fledged character and not some afterthought.
yeah, I think this is one of those things I've always say here that you've probably got to stay ahead, like with the movies and with these type of series, that one comes after the next. I think they have to stay ahead, and I think by the time you got to Apocalypse, people were tired, and that's why I think you need to bring in new people, new direction, and creative talent, and they should have did this before.
Well,
Because we,
I don't. I disagree with
I don't
that
put it all.
because
I don't put it all on Singer. I put it on the writers because you
well,
keep the same thing over, and we got the same type of tired out. Introduce a villain, the villain dies at the end, and they do these things. It's the pattern in and of itself we could all see coming, and so
I would
therefore
say
they wouldn't be in this position if they would have just tried to get ahead. Which is what I think. My point is the point with Marvel is I feel like they bring in different directors, and I'm sure that's a cost benefit over there of not having to hire like Martin Scorsese to direct everything and pay these people. But
who
they
did you
bring
say?
in
Did you
this
say
young.
Marvel?
What's that?
It's Fox, but go ahead.
I know it's Fox, but I'm making a
Okay.
comparison with Marvel.
Okay.
That they bring in different directors, so you're not stuck with one director directing several movies, and one writer. over several movies because the people understand they get tired of it. So at least with this here, you're changing it around. As you just said before, with like Doctor Strange, you can see the difference between a Doctor Strange movie and a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. At least that keeps people entertained that they're getting a new type of formula. You can't give me 15 movies and it's going to be the same thing. I can't take 15 Bryan Singer X-Men movies with the same writer. What's his name? Kim Berg. This shit's going to get played out very quickly. And so they should have been ahead of this curve and going, no offense to Bryan Singer, he does great work, but we're going to go with somebody different for this one, and then maybe we'll bring him back on the next one. But they had to break it up. And so
Here's the
now they're
thing.
left with, go ahead.
Bryan Singer is the godfather of the
Ah,
X-Men
here you
movies,
go.
okay? So, and let's not discount the fact that Days of Future Past was the highest grossing X-Men movie of all the X-Men movies. So when that movie made a shit ton of money, of course they're going to give Bryan Singer the keys to the kingdom again and say, do what you will. Because Days of Future Past was considered a critical and a box office smash. Um, Now, what Bryan Singer did with Apocalypse may not be exactly what they expected, or may not have had the fresh feel or take on it that they expected from a follow up from Days of Future Past. But I don't think it was a mistake for them to give him the keys after he was so wildly successful with Days of Future Past.
I guess I can't say it's a mistake after it, but I think you have to start pushing it in a different direction. I don't actually mind you keeping the director, but the terms of the writing, you can tell that the plot in and of itself is just sort of a mirror of the last plot. And so it's kind of like you don't have to throw out everything, but certainly you got to start pushing the material. That's all I'm saying.
And I think that that's what this whole reboot or
Well, yeah,
continuation or whatever it is with the New
this,
Mutants is about.
this, I think when you're doing world building, you should have thought of this before. I mean, it seems like Marvel, and I don't want to be licking their ass on this here, but it seems like they're looking ahead. They're looking ahead and they're going, what do we do at the end of this? Well, we've got to come up with some sort of new avenue, a new take, and we've got to push forward this direction here. I think some of these people just sit there and go, we made $500 million. Let's just do the same thing again and see if we can make another 500 million. And then when it doesn't, they're just like, oh, I guess this is just tired out now. We got to reboot it. No, we're
And
not tired. We're not tired of it. I'm not tired of seeing the cast of X-Men Apocalypse, but the story you gave me was just some sort of boring ass bullshit. So therefore, like, give me a better story with them, and then I would want to continue forward. But if you're going to give me this same shit, I'm out.
the characters that they've used so far in the X-Men cinematic universe are also much more limited as far as the Marvel cinematic universe. Now, I understand in the X-Men comic verse, there's probably thousands of characters to which they could pick to do stories about. But in the cinematic universe, it's always been the story of Xavier and Magneto and the people that were surrounding their immediate lives. So it's easy for Marvel to say, well, let's just pull Black Panther out of our ass, or let's just pull Thor or Captain America. That's a much more wide swath that they've picked from. And so each of those stories, only has like a trilogy a piece. There's only a trilogy of Captains, there's only a trilogy of Thors. Whereas X Men, it's really 7 movies about the same characters. So I see that they're getting maybe a little bit more limited, and maybe that's what this whole New Mutant thing is all about.
Okay. And, and our third quick hitter, a humans, has a new overall creative authority in charge, and his name is
Scott Burke.
okay. And how do we
And
know Scott Burke?
Scott Burke was the showrunner for the last 3 seasons of Dexter, and he is also the showrunner for Netflix's Iron Fist, which comes out in the spring.
Before you give me your 2 cents on it, I watched what do you call it? Dexter, right?
Dexter, sure. Now,
Yeah.
you weren't a
The,
fan of
the
the last
last
couple
few
of
seasons
seasons,
of
right?
Dexter were probably one of the worst for me.
Okay.
That's just a
Um,
FYI. Doesn't mean he's responsible for all of that, but I'm just saying it just turns out he showed up at the party late or he caused the party for everybody to go home. One of the two, but either way, that's not a positive for me at this point. But go ahead.
um, to be realistic about it, one of my favorite television shows on the air is probably entering its final half season, which is Agents of Shield. Now they may come out and pull out some kind of miracle at the end, but the ratings are not doing very well, and it's looking like cancellation is probably in their near-term future.
Wait, what
So
show is this?
Agents of Shield.
He's part of that?
No, no, I'm just saying with that show ending, and then Humans now becoming probably the new ABC Marvel show. I'm glad that the universe is going to continue telling
Okay.
me stories on television that I like. There's also a rumor that this is the Inhumans is going to not cancel out the movie, but sort of serve as a prequel to the eventual Inhumans movie. Inhumans is a storyline that's been featured on Agents of Shield for at least 2 seasons, so I don't know how much they're going to tie that Shield story into the new series Inhumans. But I am looking forward to seeing a little bit more. And as far as I'm concerned, Agents of Shield does have some of the best special effects on TV. But to see more super powered beings in one show on a superhero show is not a problem for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. All right.
Now, Scott Burke, I don't know from Adam because I haven't seen Iron Fist yet, and I never watched Dexter. So as far as him being the showrunner, it doesn't really give me hope or otherwise.
Okay. Well, you and Nadia will be happy about this second piece of news. Apparently, Luke Cage is coming back for a second season.
Yes, Netflix,
Shocker.
not shocking. Shocker, not shocker. It's the highest rated of the Netflix Marvel shows so far, so green light it is. And I am actually very happy with that news.
Will
Um,
this second season, will they be bringing back a pacing director or a fluff cutter?
well, as somebody who agrees with you that they really could use a little more tightening on these Netflix shows in particular, I can't disagree with the fact that they need to sort of um, get on with the story.
Is it
But
ironic that I'm actually calling for a pacing director when our show has been extremely long? It seems that's just kind of.
right,
But go ahead.
but of all the Marvel shows, this is one that I think has the pacing problems don't bother me nearly as much as they bothered me in Daredevil. So I'm okay with the pacing of this show. I'm not thrilled with it. I think it could use some tightening, but I don't have an issue with it the way I do with Daredevil.
You're just sometimes, I've given up trying to figure you out at times. I've given up because sometimes this is exactly one part where you should be zigging, but now you're zagging. You're just like eating collard greens, and you're going back to the old town, getting some ribs. You're just all on board with this whole thing here because you're ignoring some of these glaring problems with the show, but yet it speaks to you. Somewhere deep inside your cold soul, it speaks to you.
You know what Mark Twain once said? All I want is a good story, well told. And I feel like Luke Cage has delivered that for me.
Okay. That's you're for somebody I find to be adultish at times.
Nice.
All right. Let's move on with our last quick hitter here. You'll enjoy this one. I've saved the best for last. Apparently the Baywatch trailer also hit.
Mm.
That comes out in May of 2017, starring The Rock, Dwayne Johnson as Mitch Buchanan, and Zac Efron.
Yeah. Well, it just looked awful. I thought it looked just awful.
I don't I don't know what to say. I felt as though after I watched it, like part of it, I was like, I was sitting there going, "Oh, this is a joke. This whole thing is just, it's a joke." But it came across to me as really like an episode of television. It felt like it should have been a TV movie to a degree. And I was sitting there thinking, this is something that's going to be in the theater. There's something missing from it, and I don't know what's missing from it. Is maybe Seth Rogen, or maybe what's his name, Kevin Hart, Melissa McCarthy. Something's missing from it.
You know what's
Um,
not missing from it? are
Oh,
gratuitous shots of Zac
oh,
Efron's abs.
okay, all right. Because
That's not missing. Those are on full display.
once again, I mean, are people outside of the moms that paid to go see Twilight? Are you telling me that people are going to go pay to see Zac Efron's abs?
Well, I would never say that that's a guarantee. There was that one movie where he was played the DJ that made 14 cents.
Yes.
So
Um,
clearly, Zac Efron is not the only thing that's going to draw people to this movie.
I
It's a
saw
rock
that
movie, and
movie and
that's
kind of
probably their
liked it, by the way, when he played the
yeah.
DJ.
No one else in America did see it. So I'm just saying that Zac Efron on your title bill isn't going to guarantee you financial success, but it's certainly not going to hurt either. So The Rock's in it, which is probably their bigger bet for a draw. Obviously, the brand name of Baywatch. I don't know. Watch it turn out to be like a smash hit. You just watch.
It's not going to be a smash hit. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm going on the record right now and telling you right now it's not going to turn out that way. But hey, power to him. I'm not trying to hate on The Rock, but that looks like a poor choice. All right. Bill, we haven't done this in a long while.
What's that?
Le cinéma de Revenge over du Saman.
Oh, is it that time?
It's that time. We haven't done it. And by the way, I've been, you know, something came up, so I didn't spend time with my girl, and so wait a second, Scooties is indicating to me that he has to go potty.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's barking
Can
at
he
me.
hold it for a second?
I mean, honestly, so get out. Wait a second, hold on, get out. No, there's no. Anyway, so there's going to be some barking in the background. I can't
That's
help it.
fine.
There's no
Hey,
pause on this new
there's no
Google.
pause. So he's going to have to
Anyway,
suck it up.
so while she's away, I've decided to polish off 3 or 4 movies in my spare time. I've
All right.
saw. I'm not going to talk about them, but I would just want you to know I'm watching Kubo and the Two Strings. I saw Peach Dragon. Um, I've watched Jason Bourne and a few other things here.
Okay.
Peach Dragon, I can see why it made 10 cents. Sometimes when you watch
It's
the
one of
movie,
Disney's rare financial disappointments in this day and age. They run the world, but for some reason, their live action adaptations, which are big, booming business for them, this didn't work on.
well, I think you have to watch the movie to know why.
Okay.
So it's boring and pedestrian. There's just something missing from it, and it was fairly obvious that if I'm going there to have a good time, I was just like, from frame one to frame two to frame three, I did not care. I
It
turned
didn't
my
tug at
head
your
away.
heartstrings, the little story between the dragon and the boy?
No, I mean it was kind of obvious, but there's just something like it was just. It seemed like it was amateur hour. Peach Dragon comes across to me as amateur hour. It's like taking Jan's Cameron's special effects and then comparing them to some sort of stop motion from the 60s. It's just like they gave this to like some intern to do over there and say, put together Peach Dragon. We're going to give you $100,000. Do what you can. There's
Okay.
something that's missing from it, and it's a lack of love. But I don't want to get into it. I'm just saying, you watch it, and I defy you to come back to me with something different. There's no apes in it, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
I know, but here's the thing about Pete's Dragon. I didn't like the first one, the animated one, either, so I really have zero shits to give about
oh,
this one.
well, if you didn't like that, then I don't think this is going to help you.
So,
So I saw Jason Bourne with Matt Damon.
okay.
I'm going to read you the synopsis, what it says. Back for another high stakes, high octane thriller, super spy Jason Bourne plays cat and mouse with covert government agency and terrorist rings while edging closer to unraveling the mystery of his real identity. He's been trying to what's this unravel his fucking identity for like several fucking movies now. I give the movie 1 star.
Okay,
Do-
now let me ask a question. Is this the same character that Jeremy Renner played at some point?
yes, yeah, I
So
believe.
wait, what happened? Did they explain? Like, did he get plastic surgery and then he got his face restored, or they just act like it never happened?
Let me look that up here. Don't quote me on it. I believe it
Okay.
is.
So they explain it, or they don't.
I don't recall.
Okay.
So I don't want to speak on it. I don't want to speak
Okay.
on it. But
Okay.
Jeremy Renner, he was in one of them, and I think there's 5 Jason Bourne movies.
Okay.
And Okay. And so that being said, this movie in and of itself goes over the same shit. I'm back to Treadstone. It's always. Did you ever see the Jason Bourne movies?
I saw the first one, which
Yeah.
was what
It's
was
the
it
same
called?
shit. It's the same shit. It's called The Bourne Identity.
Right, right.
Same shit. Where it just goes, he's part of Treadstone and he's trying to find out secrets behind like who he is and where he's from. They do this every movie. They have him walk very slowly. They have people chase him and shoot him, and there's one person pulling the strings who knows everything. And then Jason Bourne tracks him down and then dispatches him. The same thing over and over yet again. And I'm thinking they really put this movie out. I gave it 1 star for just actually no creativity. I like Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, but this here was unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable.
Okay.
How much did this movie make?
I don't know. Aren't you going
Because
to tell us in box office results?
I guess I can. It just amazes me. I'm looking it up right now. According to the Box Office Mojo, it made $415 million worldwide.
That
It
seems
made
like a lot of money.
162 million in America alone.
I mean, how much it could have possibly have cost?
120 million.
Sounds like a disappointment.
Well, these numbers don't bear it out necessarily on its face, but it was a disappointment for me.
Right.
When I sit down on like a Friday night and I'm eating my Chipotle and I want to have a good time with some sort of good old fashioned entertainment action film, and I get this, it just really hurts me that they would even put this out. It's just the same plot, different people, and you just go through the motions. Anyway, moving on. Don't Breathe.
Yes.
Who's the muscle guy in that movie?
The one they want to play Cable, Stephen Lang.
Yeah, Stephen Lang, the blind guy. I want you to know that movie was fascinating
Why?
because it was like a thriller, and the direction of the movie, there were some twists and turns in it, and it didn't play for the obvious. There was some creativity behind it, simple but creative. Who's this director? What's this? Fede Alvarez. He did the Evil Dead remake.
Okay.
He's my young and upcoming director. He's what M. Night was for you back in the day. I
Okay.
feel like this guy's got a bright future ahead of him. I mean, I liked his Evil Dead remake and this Don't Breathe. Uh, I was on pins and needles while watching this whole thing. It was fascinating to watch. So anyway, I don't want to spoil it for the people out there.
How many stars?
I give it 4 stars. Now we're going to be doing our
Really?
movie reviews at the end of the
That's
year here
awfully
coming
high
up.
for you. Okay.
Um, and so I'm not sure just yet if I'm going to have a movie of the year, but certainly Don't Breathe isn't going to be in my top 10. Um, as well as The Jungle Book will probably make my top 10 also, believe it or not.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the penultimate number one movie.
Well, I have one in mind at this juncture. However, there are several movies at the end of the year that are coming up for me. This is the first time in several years that end of the year movies have really. There's a bunch of them that I really want to are like must see for me. We've got La La Land coming out next week, obviously along with Rogue One. There's Passengers with Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt coming out at the end of the year. So there's at least three movies that I have yet to see. Now, I'm not sure if any of them will make my list, but I don't think it's fair for me to judge until I've seen all the ones I really want to see before giving my award. So,
Well, you're not going to be able to see all three by the next week.
well, no, then we're going to have another show by the end of the year, or we can save
Ooh,
our
look
best of
at
the year.
you. You're working OT. You're working OT on PCP.
Wow. Okay, we can have a special show. It doesn't have to be like a full show. We could just do our best of whatever show.
Listen, if you're gonna have me set up this whole system over here, it's not
Mhm.
going to be for 10 minutes. It's like somebody's telling you like this. How about we do like a fuck session, but it's only going to be for 3 minutes. No, no, no.
Wow,
I'm
really?
not going to take a bath and cut my toenails for
Okay.
3 minutes.
All right. So, what would be the normal 2 week schedule? Next week, obviously, we have the special Rogue One review show.
And then the
Then
week after that would be,
January 1st.
is that January 1st?
Well, the week after the Rogue One would be Christmas Day, which obviously we're not doing a show for. And then the regular 2 week schedule from the 18th would be January 1st.
You could also do it during the week because I know you don't seem to work during the holidays.
Yeah, I won't be working during the week on my break either. So,
Wow,
um,
really?
yeah, no. You don't think I'm not going to go to work and then have to do, extra work while I'm not working? That does not happen.
You act like this show sometimes like laying asphalt on the roadway for you sometimes. You're just like, oh, I'm so exhausted. So
No,
exhausted.
I'm just saying my vacation is my vacation, and nothing, come hell or high water, shall interrupt my laziness.
What,
Um,
what do you walk out of your basement and walk upstairs and Chris goes, what's wrong? You're like, oh, baby, I just had a hard time during the show. I just need a moment. Just run me a hot bath. I just need to relax.
I think January 1st would be the perfect time. Are you going to be out of town that week?
I don't know if I will be out of town. I got to come up with some plans. I got a new woman right now, so I don't know what to do for, do you do something? Do you stay at home?
It's New Year's Day. What are you going to do? Go out New Year's Eve like everybody else, and then come
You go
home
out on New
and
Year's Eve?
recover. Huh?
You go out on New Year's Eve?
I don't, but I'm not everybody else. I'm not like, a proletariat.
I don't know why
Um,
you put me in those categories then. Why am I supposed to
you're
be
a
out?
man of the people. Let's put it that way. You're a man of the people. You like to socialize. You like to get out there and mix it up.
Mm, It's getting kind of cold outside, so I don't know if I want to be mixing it up anymore. I got to go shovel snow off my vehicle.
I think
Anyway,
January 1st would be a perfect time. It's a Sunday. It's the first of the year, so that way it will officially be in 2017. But it's not enough time to have to worry about getting another movie in there for contention. I think it's perfect. But you
okay.
decide.
All right. That's fine. That's fine. I kind of like that idea. That's kind of cool. That's a good way to start off 2017 with a little PCP. Maybe
Sure.
during my time away on a break, I could figure out some shit. I don't. What am I supposed to be figuring out? A
I
new
don't know.
system, a new recorder. I mean, what am I supposed to be figuring?
How to get the sounds back would be nice.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Anyway, let's move on to. We haven't had this a while. It's kind of like what's the word? Nostalgia here.
Hey, I heard that sound. How come I didn't hear the music?
Well, these are sound
Oh,
effects
these
within
are sound
this.
effects within the Hangout. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Can you
yes.
add sound effects to Hangout?
I do not know.
Maybe we should try that.
I'm sure there's some sort of copyright thing. Everything's copyright. All these laws. You know what? I'm glad Trump's coming down. Maybe we can get rid of some
Wow.
of these rules and regulations to sit here and fucking keep our podcasts down. That's what I'm thinking.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe get rid of the FCC. Fucking
Sure. All
put it.
government agencies, just get rid of them.
Yeah, just puts
Let's
a
have
real
Trump
damper.
alone in a room managing the country without any input from anyone. That'll surely go over well.
All right. We're going to move on to box office receipts for the weekend of December 9 through 11 of 2016. Nearing the end here. Number one is what's this
Wait, let me
ethnic
guess.
name?
Moana.
Miana, Muana.
Moana.
I'm going to call her Betty. I'm going to use
Wow.
Betty because that's an American name.
Wow.
Betty.
Okay. And okay.
So
Okay, Mr.
Betty
Diversity.
brought in 18,842,000 for a total gross of 145 million over 3 weeks domestically.
Has it been released worldwide?
It has the foreign box office. Oh, I don't know how far many. I don't know in all the countries it's been released, but so far the foreign box office receipts are totaling 93 million.
Wow. Well, it's another smash for Disney. Not
Yeah,
any
who would have thought
surprise
that?
there.
Who would have thought that?
Well, it goes to show that stories featuring minority characters can
Oh,
be financially viable.
oh.
Now,
Tell that
don't
to the
tell that.
Princess and the Frog. Tell that
Yeah,
shit to
that's what I was going to
Princess
say.
and the
Don't
Frog.
tell that to the Princess and the Frog. But apparently, it's okay for the Hawaiian princess. So,
Yeah, don't get me started on that one. And don't tell me it's because of the voice of the rock either, which I had no idea it was the voice of the rock until they told me.
Are
The
you under a rock? How would you not know that? It's quite obvious when you hear the characters talk that
you,
it's
you
The
know,
Rock.
I don't go to see movies because of some fucking voice actors. I don't know why
No one's
people in
saying that you do.
Hollywood sit there thinking, going like this. Oh, this cartoon character stars the voice of Tom Cruise, and this one is over here as Denzel. Nobody cares about the fucking voice. Nobody
They do.
cares.
Apparently, they do if it's voiced by The Rock. Ask The
That
Rock's accountant if they can.
you're all about this today. This is all you're about. That's all you're about.
It's what makes the world go round, my friend. Don't
Okay, number
discount it.
two. So Betty apparently beat out this number two movie, Office Christmas Party. It was making its debut. It pulled in 17,500,000.
I don't think that's terrible.
Yeah, but it's the movie cost 45 million to make.
How in the hell can a movie about some no-name TV actors in an office Christmas
What are you
party,
calling
which,
about? What's her name from Friends is in the movie?
yeah, Jennifer Aniston? When's the
Yeah.
last time Jennifer Aniston made a movie? She's not exactly box office gold.
She makes a lot of movies, but she's out there making cake. She also did that one movie with I want to say Jason Sudeikis. Well, either way, she does a lot of movies, but I don't think she pulls in a lot of dough from her movies. But she's
Did you
out
say Jason Sudeikis? It's Jason Sudeikis. Sudoku is a puzzle you do in the newspaper. Really? If you're going to be on a show about the inner workings of Hollywood, like Popular Cinema Podcast, I'm going to need you to brush up on people's names.
Do you know that sometimes I pronounce the names on purpose to show my sign of disrespect? It's a subtle. It's not like calling Kaepernick taking a knee. It's like a sledgehammer to the face. I'm a little bit more subtle with my disrespect.
Uh huh. Sure, we'll call it that. Anything you say, Payne.
All right. So you think that some sort of no name? Well, these movies are expensive nowadays anymore.
$45 million? It's an office Christmas party.
Well, there's
Uh,
some special effects where there's a car, going over a ramp, crashing into the water, people falling off like chairs and stuff. It seems like there might be some money involved in that.
okay. It seems like one of those things that could be made for like 20 million max to me, but okay.
Oh, you're like the Ike Perlmutter. That's what you are. That's what you are. You're like
I just don't, in the
Perlmutter.
concept of it, I don't see where all the money went, but
I
okay.
mean, here you've got Jennifer Aniston, Jason Bateman, Kate
Again,
McKinnon,
washed up TV star. Continue.
T.J. Miller, Olivia Munn.
Nobody's, no, these are not A-list names.
I mean,
You keep reading these people like they're like, suddenly I'm going to go, oh, well, that's why it made cost 45 million.
Jennifer Aniston is at least getting 5 million, right?
Sure, but I mean, that's based on her TV show that has been off the air for like 15 years.
Jason Bateman is not going to get a couple million. He's a male, so he's got a penis, so he gets paid more than a woman. So hell, he's got
Again,
at least 6 million.
Not exactly box office draw.
Robert Corddry.
Who? Really? I mean, T.J. Miller? He was the sidekick in Deadpool.
All right, the movie looks.
Olivia Munn had like 2 lines in Apocalypse.
All
These are not A-list names.
right, maybe maybe Bloomhouse needs to be on board. Then he needs to be cutting
Maybe.
the purse strings. Either way, the movie looks fun to me. I enjoyed watching the trailer. It looks like a lot of hoots and laughs for me. But if it only made 17 million this week, and this is the height of the Christmas time here, it's not going to go bode well for them long term.
It doesn't sound like it.
Anyway, the number 3 movie, in its 4th week of release, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Not surprised.
So it's pulled in 10 million. So it looks like total it's 199 million domestically over 4 weeks. It's like 50 million a week here in the US. It made 480 million overseas. And so it's got a total of approximately $680 million.
Anybody who thought that foreign box office sales are not important should take a lesson from this. These movies, especially these big, um, effects heavy driven pop culture touchstone kind of movies play very well outside of the United States, and more than half of the profits come from that release anymore.
Well, apparently we're going to get about several more of this because as we keep talking about in this show, they're going to stretch this shit out. They're going to milk this for every dime it's fucking worth now. So,
I don't understand the bitterness towards the movie myself. I don't get it. As a fan of the original Harry Potter series of movies, as I know that you are, I don't know why you wouldn't embrace the next chapter of the story,
well,
even if
because
it is a prequel. Hello?
are you there?
Yes?
Did something happen? It sounded like your microphone kind of went.
Yeah, you know what happened? Those people who were running on those tracks over at the AT&T took a coffee break.
Here, let's just do this right now. If this shit just breaks down right now, I've been your co-host Payne,
And I've been Bill.
and you'll see us in an extra week. I'm just saying we're putting that in there right now. So if it shuts down, we're not finishing it.
All
But
right.
I'm a fan of the Harry Potter shit, obviously. But I find that anytime you put Colin Farrell in a movie, it stinks. It stinks to high death for me right there. That's what it means for me. And to be quite honest with you, I
What do you
find
have
that
against
Eddie,
Colin Farrell?
when he's in a movie, he's just some sort of like what's the word? There's something basic about him. There's nothing extravagant. Like Colin Farrell is what they were hoping. They were hoping Colin Farrell would be Chris Pratt one day. And what you turned out is that Colin Farrell is not Chris Pratt. He can't carry a movie. He can't carry a hit. Even though he's good looking and everything else, he doesn't have that star quality. No matter what he's done, he can't carry the fucking movie. They've tried to make him a star, but he can't be. So he's better off playing some sort of side role, secondary role, whatever have you. But when he's in it, it just seems like it's just like, uneventful. And Eddie Redmayne, what's his Eddie
Redmayne.
Redmayne? Talented actor, no doubt, but there's something as stale as white bread for me. It's just fucking boring. It's fucking boring. And so obviously the movie might hold some sort of magic for me, but the casting of the people itself screams just like I'd rather watch paint dry.
Ouch. Okay.
So, I mean, that's just my basic impression. I hope when I do see the movie, I call you on the phone and say, you know what, I really enjoyed myself and had a good time with it. But in terms of getting me to the theater, no, I'm not.
What
I'm not.
what movie, if it was not for me coming and taking you to movies, what movie would get you out of the house to go see it with
Well,
just your girlfriend of your own volition, just to go?
Don't Breathe would have been a movie I would have left my house for.
But you didn't, so
I
that's
tried,
not
no,
doesn't
I tried to
count.
get tickets. I tried to get tickets. They were giving
What
away.
happened?
Well, I put in for a lottery for free tickets and I didn't win.
Let me get this right. You didn't just go to the box office and plop down your $9 like everybody else. You wanted to get free tickets, and when the free tickets didn't, this is what I'm talking about. Not a situation in which you are either taken to a movie by me or you're given free tickets. What movie would you pay to see at the movie? What is the movie that is the magic formula to get Payne out of his bubble? Because
Some,
nothing seems to be doing it.
well, you put me on the spot right now. I can't think of it right now. Something's been out there. There's been more than a few that would have dragged me out of the household for.
Would have does not count. I need to know what is must see for you. That means when it comes out, if I don't come down there and we go together, what are you going to go out of your house to see?
The last movie I went out by myself to see was Mad Max, Fury Road.
So, what is it that Mad Max had that 99% of all other movies don't have?
It had violence on tap. It's the
You sound like some kind of crazy Unabomber, right?
and Don't Breathe. You know what it has? I guess if you were to pull up a psychological profile, a workup of me, what these movies have is they have something that they're putting a twist on an old formula. And what I would say would be like a Neil Marshall movie where you would have the hero die at the end of the film instead of somehow getting out of some sort of crazy trap. They put a twist on something. That's what drags me out. But if you're going to kind of give me the same thing and what I can expect, then it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to go see it. Does it become must see for me? But if something you do something that's just like this is strange, never been done before, it's not playing by the same rules as these movies here, then that gets me out. When Steven Spielberg comes out with Warhorse, it doesn't make me want to go out and see the movie, even though I know that Steven Spielberg is a landmark director and that the movie is going to be put together fine. It's going to have a good plot. I know how it's all going to end. I know how it's going to end. It's the same notes and beats. But give me something else. Give me something different. That's what drags me out to this. That drags me out to the film theater right there. That gets me out of my seat.
And the only time that's happened in the last 20 years was Mad Max Fury Road.
This is why the film industry is dying. This is what we keep talking about. And the more you sit there and you have that little tone in your voice, every one of these movies come out. When you get Fantastic Beasts #7, you got Transformers 9 coming out, you got the Fast and the Furious, no longer called that now, coming out, #12. You've got Vin Diesel doing some sort of movie called The Return of Xander Cage, and you're wondering why I don't go to the theater.
I'm wondering why you don't go to the theater, not because there is not despite the fact that there's a lot of junk out there, which there has always been a lot of junk out there. Obviously, people have more choices today. Netflix is a thing, et cetera, et cetera. But there are still movies out there that are worthy of going to see that you can't see on Netflix properly. And those are usually the movies that we go to together because they're big spectacle kind of must see things, but there are other things I would think in between those big blockbusters that we always go to and Mad Max Fury Road. There's other stuff. I mean if if these big blockbustery movies aren't the thing that does it for you, that's fine. Go to an art house movie. That counts as a film. I don't know why the fact of going out of the house to see movies is something that seems to be going away. There are still things out there. Award bait movies are still out there. There's things to see if
Listen, you're
blockbusters
you're
aren't your
you're
thing.
one theater shooting away from not going to the movie theaters anymore here. Okay,
All right, I'm not going to
I,
say that that's not true.
I'm going to keep this podcast for posterity because at some point you're going to be just like, so there's going to be some sort of fan go, we didn't hear the film review. You're going to be like, oh, we didn't go to the movie theaters on the opening weekends. There's just too many wackos. We try to go only during the morning shift, you know, theaters where they pat you down.
When that happens, I'm not going to say that that isn't going to be my reaction, but it hasn't, thank God, knock wood, you know, it hasn't happened yet, and I hope it never will happen. But short of being afraid of being shot in my, face, there's still reasons to go see movies, whatever they are. I don't care if you're not into the big blockbusters. Find something that you are into and go see it. I implore you to help keep the industry alive. Hello? Hello? I assume we're done. Yes, you should give them a call and you should have them come out and either give you another router, a second router for upstairs, or you need to think about moving your equipment. not that far. It is actually kind of far. Your router is actually kind of far from your computer. You know, it's AT&T. Those mice can only work so hard. They must have rolling blackouts in order to keep this shit going. I mean, you only have to do it like 3 or 4 times. Jesus Christ. And I think we should call it something about the trailers. I don't know. Trailer Palooza, something. I don't know. Trailers a go go. Yeah, I think we used the Palooza at some point in another